Hello, welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Becca and today I'm going to be talking about the 10 most popular books I've ever read. So if you've been around on my channel a while, you may know that I've kind of already done this. However, the last time I did it, I organised the books that I'd read by rating. So it was sort of like the highest rated books I've ever read. However, this time I'm organising it by number of ratings. So these 10 books are the books that have been read by the most people according to Goodreads. I don't think any of these are too surprising, but obviously they will be different from other people's because I know classics rank quite high. However, I haven't read that many. I will be going through these books in reverse order. So the first books that I mentioned will be the least popular of the most popular, and then the last book will be the most popular book I have ever read. So let's just get started. So first up we have The Lovely Bones by Alice Sebold. This has 1,780,000 ratings. It has an average rating of 3.79 and I rated it a 3. I did unhaul this book because I didn't enjoy it all that much, but it follows a girl who has gone missing. I'm not sure if her parents know that she's dead, but she has been murdered, and it is the story of finding out what happened and who killed her. But the girl is also a ghost, so the girl is following along as people try and figure out what happened to her as a ghost who I think she's aware that she's dead. But essentially I just find it really boring. Like, the premise was really good and it's sort of supposed to be one of those that like pulls on your heartstrings, but I just really didn't care. Number 9 and number 8 respectively are Mockingjay and Catching Fire by Suzanne Collins. Mockingjay has 2,003,000 ratings, an average rating of 4.3 and I rated it a 4. Catching Fire has 2,120,000 ratings, an average rating of 4.29 and I again rated it a 4. The first thing I would like to say is that I probably should have rated these 5 stars. However, these were amongst the books that come up when you first join Goodreads and it's like, have you read this book? So I marked that I had and I was like, oh, I'll give it a 4. These would be 5 stars. I love The Hunger Games. This is the second and third books in the Hunger Games trilogy, which I absolutely love. As you all know, I don't really need to explain it, but it follows Katniss Everdeen from District 13, who finds herself part of this annual battle royale where they put 24 children into an arena and they fight to the death and only one lives. Katniss then starts a revolution and it's a YA dystopian. Why am I still talking? You know what this is about. At number 7 we have 1984 by George Orwell. This has 2,332,000 ratings, an average rating of 3.8 and I rated this a 3. I thought I'd rated it higher than that, but this is essentially a classic sci-fi that was originally published in 1949 and it is about what the world will be like in 1984. This is where Big Brother comes from, like the name of the show Big Brother, because the main catchphrase in this is that Big Brother is always watching you. And it's sort of this future dystopian where the government controls literally everything. You have no free will. You're not allowed to think or speak outside the government doctrine. And it just follows a main character who kind of realises that maybe this isn't the way that you're supposed to live. I actually really enjoyed this. I'm surprised I gave it a 3, but I read this not too long ago, so there must have been a reason I settled on that rating. But I would recommend it if you like classics and you like sci-fi. At number 6 we have Divergent with 2,479,000 ratings, an average of a 4.22 rating and I rated this a 4. I did like this, but it was nothing exciting. See, this book shouldn't have the same rating as The Hunger Games because I enjoyed The Hunger Games way more, but it's the same kind of thing. It is a dystopian where the world is separated into factions, and like 1984, you can't rebel against your faction. So if you're in Dauntless, you're like the heroes and the army. If you're in Erudite, you're like the scholars and the most intelligent, and society is stabilised by remaining exactly the same. However, there are a small minority of the population, including our main character, who are divergents, which means that they don't fit into any one box. And then eventually there is an uprising, standard dystopian stuff. I did enjoy it, but it didn't really stand out to me. I thought it was good and much better than the other books in the series, but to be honest, I only read this in January and I've forgotten most of it already. At number 5 with 2,862,000 ratings, we have The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. This has an average rating of 4.24 and I again rated it 4 stars. This follows Hazel Grace, who has lung cancer, I believe, and she goes to a cancer support group and meets Gus, who is in remission, I believe, from his cancer. It's a romance between those two, even though any one of them could die at any moment if their illness worsens. This is another one that tugs at your heartstrings. It didn't personally make me cry because I'm just not I don't have a heart, essentially. But I thought it was really sweet. It's the first John Green book I read. I then got on to really enjoy John Green, even though I know a lot of people really don't because he pretty much doesn't have a plot. But I thought it was really cute. It was really sweet. And then this sounds awful, but having people with cancer as the main characters adds that extra element that I need in a contemporary to really enjoy it, because YA contemporary fluff just doesn't really do it for me anymore. At number 4, we have The Great Gatsby with 3,126,000 ratings, an average rating of 3.9, and I gave this a 4 stars. This is about the legendary Jay Gatsby, who is a millionaire who's sort of notorious in the area of New York where he lives. It essentially just follows the life of a guy who moves into a tiny cottage next door and the goings on of Jay Gatsby. It's very scandalous, especially for the time that it was written, and it's set in the 1920s. Now, I watched the movie for this. I think I've watched both adaptations. I've watched this one and the new one with Leonardo DiCaprio, and I still didn't remember the ending. I thought it was enjoyable. It didn't really have enough substance for me to really enjoy it, but for what it was, I thought it was really good, and it has a shock ending that I completely forgot happened. At number 3, with 4,263,000 ratings, we have Twilight by Stephenie Meyer. This has a 3.58 average rating. I gave this a 4. However, it was another one of those books that popped up when I first joined Goodreads, and if I'd have rated it at the time that I read it, I would have given it 10 stars because I absolutely adored this. As you can see, this was a brand new hardback when I got this when I was 13, and it is beaten up because I love this book so much. I've read Twilight 15 times. I adore Twilight. I will not say a bad word against Twilight, because even though it might not be so great now, at the time that I read it, it was everything I wanted and needed, and I became obsessed. I've always loved reading, but this is the first book that I read that made me fall in love with a story, and I will never discredit Twilight for that because it did a lot for me. It did a great deal for young adult books, and I think it's definitely going to be a classic, not because it's so good, but because of all that it's done for the people who read it and the industry. Then we have The Hunger Games with 5,492,000 ratings. This has an average rating of 4.33, and I gave it a 4, but once again it should have been a 5. And I'm not really going to talk about this because I did just talk about it when I spoke about the other 2 books in the series, but y'all know I love it. Who doesn't love it? The Hunger Games is iconic. And then lastly, surprise, surprise, with 5,500,000 ratings, an average rating of 4.46, and I, shamefully, on Goodreads for some reason, rated it a 3. It's Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. It was one of those books that popped up when I first joined Goodreads, and I was like 17 or 18. No, I wasn't. I was 21 when I first joined Goodreads, and I hadn't read this book in probably like 10 years. So I just thought, meh, it was all right, and rated it as a 3. I really need to reread these. I haven't changed my rating on Goodreads because I am going to be rereading it, and I'm assuming that I will change my rating then. However, shamefully, I do have a 3-star rating on Goodreads. This would probably be a 5. I'm hoping to reread this probably next year, and I'll do like a series of book diaries of rereading it the first time as an adult. But rest assured, I don't think this is a 3-star book. I just was a terrible 21-year-old. And I will fix that. So that is everything for the most popular books I've ever read. Please let me know some of the most popular books that you guys have ever read, or how you feel about some of these. Do you love them? They're obviously very notorious books, but do you like them? Because I know people's opinions on some of them can be quite controversial depending on what time in your life you read them. But please don't forget to like this video if you liked it, and subscribe if you want to. If you head into my description box, you'll find a link to my Goodreads, Instagram and Twitter if you'd like to follow me on any of those, as well as a link to my Bookish body butter and candle website, the Instagram for that, and a 10% off discount code. But that's it from me today. Bye! Oh, you bite your friend like chocolate. You say you're go and nobody knows, with guns hidden under our petticoats. We're never gonna quit it, no, we're never gonna quit it, no.